Okay.
Yep, it just started. Go ahead.
Okay, I thought I was in waiting for you, and in fact, I was at the screen that said press join now. We can get going. We'll call the meeting to order. I think it's at right now 10:02, 2 minutes late. I hate being late at anything, but we'll start the meeting now. Yeah, you can hand that out, the handouts for here. We'll start the meeting. We do not have let's just look over here. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, okay.
Stand up.
That's asking a lot of these
I
chairs.
know. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we can do the roll call now. We have 4 board members here. We have Mike Causey is here. We have Jim Latham is here. We have Louis Lemaire is here, and we have Doug Zanter is here. So we have a quorum of our 7-member board. Peggy is not joining today, but I told her I'd get a copy. But I will send in the attendance confirmation for the subcommittee. So we have is anyone have any comment before we get going from a standpoint of any public comment from any member?
Yeah,
Can you guys be sure you fill out one of those forms, please, so we have it for the record?
okay. One of the half sheets.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Keep it, yeah.
We need to keep all those on file.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Without regard to what's on the menu, wait a minute. See if I can find my sheet. Oh, okay. Public comments. Comment has to do with the town center fountains. There's the ones by the Brokey Center and Vincenza. And we are currently paying the electric bill for that. The comment is, historically, we have not paid for that. Something changed recently.
Mhm.
But it turns out in doing research that it probably should have been ours all along. My question, challenge, comment to the group is, we could declare those surplus and turn them off, or we could just continue on paying them. The reason I'm bringing it up is about $4,000 a month in electrical.
Yeah, and that is on the agenda, the last thing on the
So
agenda.
anyway, then I'll just throw that out there and, okay. The next comment had to do with broken mirrors on the conservation area. And I know you've got them, we just got to get them.
No, I talked yesterday to Jen, and I'm taking them over. They're in my car. I'm taking the mirrors over to Jen for the one place where there's no mirrors. And John is going to install them.
Okay, and if he doesn't get them done by October 1st, then we'll be using.
Well, once we have a.
Oh, they got people.
Yeah, but right now we have the mirrors to replace the ones that are down. And there's also, by the way, the same thing in that area. I had an email yesterday from Jen. There's also some asphalt that has deteriorated that needs to be repaired.
Okay.
So both of them are on the list of things to look at.
Bob, can you make sure you state your name and address for the record?
Yeah, this is Robert Kepler from Monticello. The next question is a question. Did we determine that we are mothballing the fountains at Tree Line and Colonial at the signs out there?
We voted on that. And our group did, and the PPAC voted on turning them off. And Jen is working with the fountain people to turn them off.
Okay, but it is going up every time.
Yes, that's on the list. Also on that same thing is she is increasing the fountains coming into Pelican Preserve, the volume so that the water squirts up higher.
Okay.
Okay, at the same time, we're turning the others off.
The other consideration, just as information, is that landscaping is going to at least get a proposal for mirroring at our entrance, the fountains on either side of Pelican Reserve Boulevard. So you can see it from either entrance. Don't know if it's going to happen, but there at least it's a proposal.
Now, was the monuments out on Tree Line and Colonial, is that still?
No, that's the thing that he mentioned, that
That's the
we're
ones that are
closing them
mobile
off.
fountains.
The
Most-
fountains are still under us, or did they go to landscape?
There's, the fountains functionally, all the fountains are going to be under landscape.
Okay,
But up till now, you guys have been paying for it.
Right, we pay for the electricity and the maintenance on those fountains at Tree Line and Colonial.
right, but that's going to go to.
We're mothballing them so
Right.
that there won't be any
Okay.
maintenance
Avoid the
and
expense.
electric expense.
We'll just have the maintenance on the monuments themselves.
Right. But the thing is that we discussed that a couple meetings ago at CDD to do that, not CDD, PPAC, and we also discussed it in our group.
Now, will the power be shut off? The
Right.
Lights, so there.
No,
are
no, we just won't have the pumps running. We'll still have power for the light, the monument.
So the lights will be there, but the
Right.
fountains won't function.
No.
And the fountains are all.
Do we
the
need the
energy.
lights?
Well,
Yeah.
we didn't vote on turning the lights off. We voted on getting ready the pumps.
And that meter that's serving that is on Laura's list of two signs, not the Farms Group.
Okay.
To, to landscaping designs, right. All monument signage, is gonna be under landscape. And then the last thing for everyone to think about is develop a task list for our hourly maintenance guy that starts October 1st or whenever next year. So if there's things that you can think about that we'd like to schedule him to do, because he's available to the 3 subsystems. An awful lot of his time will probably initially be doing pressure washing things on monument, sidewalk, and stuff like that. But there's still the opportunity to fill out his schedule. So if there's things that you want to get done, think about it. And that's all I had, and I'll put all that on.
So whoever we end up hiring for that maintenance position, they'll take direction with the combination of Daniel and Jen.
Okay.
Jen will let
I just,
They'll report to Daniel, but they'll take.
my expectation is we should have a list that always has things to be done.
Yep.
That we can't get to.
That's
You know what I
how-
mean? More than the fact that he has nothing or she has nothing to do.
Right.
And, I got a list about 5 things, that we already had said we were going to do with Jen's group, painting the bridges. That was on the list of things. Well, it's not, the bridges still aren't done. It'll be October. They still won't be done, and can transfer them over to, Gateway.
Build the job.
Yeah, we'll have a list of things and they'll constantly get prioritized and reprioritized based on.
And the prioritization of assignments. I think
That'll be
should,
handled between Jen and Daniel.
well, but primarily, I would think for Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna direct the report.
He or
And
she.
the 3 subsystems will be the ones that funnel
Feed.
questions to Dan.
right,
Since it
Okay.
is a Gateway employee.
right.
And there's nothing wrong with Jen and KW. I mean,
No,
It's
But it
just
was
that we're in a transition year.
Yep.
And we're paying KW handsomely for her involvement. So the more that gets minimized and transparent to the residents, there's an opportunity next year to save some money.
right.
We're spending $5,000 a month for her services right now, and I'm sure she's earning it. But if it can be $2,000 next year, then that's $3,000 more to spend improving the community. That's all. Thank you.
All right. You can fill out 10 of those sheets for all the stuff you put
I'm
on.
gonna put 1 down.
I expect 10 for each line item you talked about.
I have one comment from my
Yes.
neighborhood that say, thank you very much for cutting back the preserve so they can ride their golf carts through and walk through.
If you could just say who you are and where you live.
Nancy Desmond, Trieste.
That was just a thank you.
Yep, that's okay. We still need names
Yeah.
for the record.
Yeah.
However, they didn't cut through the little pathway by Sienna, which we do not own. We can have it done, but
Okay, that unpaved
the unpaved.
shortcut?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
okay,
we're not allowed to do that. but we-
right.
And I talked to Doug, they were supposed to do it, but they didn't get there.
All right.
The other thing is, do we have anyone that picks up the plastic all around the ponds? Do we have
No,
any-
no one picks up any trash or anything around Pelican
It's
Preserve.
disgusting sometimes.
Unless the pond walker is so disposed, it isn't a job description, but
But you were talking about somebody doing something else.
Oh,
I don't know.
okay.
Well, the thing is, I think we talked about in the past, when the contracts are renewed, and we got a contract coming up now, that we add that to
Yes.
the
thank you.
littoral maintenance contract.
I'll be very surprised if it's not in there.
I don't
We
think,
covered that early on,
no, it's
when we
not,
first hired the people. Okay.
but it's
But
not in
somehow
there.
it got deleted, because it was in there
Yeah.
for a while. That obvious trash.
All right.
Get off their thing.
All right. Let's get going here. I got the, right here, the minutes. Is any comment for the minutes? I have some changes that I would, that I've marked up on the thing. Anyone else have any changes in the minutes? On page 2, I got the hand mark up here, and I will give it to Laura. You can take it back. On page 2, it says the golf cart discussion, where it's got there, it's got Mr. Latham, it should be Mr. Lemare. We're talking about Sienna, on the Sienna side. And then the thing that needs to be added, so that's Latham, there should be Lemare. And the other, on the from a golf cart parking, Mr. Latham will do town center side, preserve for parking for boardwalk. I added that to the change because that was but it was, the two were confused
Right.
between the two of them in there. So I made those changes to the minutes. And the other thing is up here, it was black, was a type of spray paint that was highlighted on the thing. So those changes I have here on the document. Can I have a recommendation to approve the minutes?
Vote to approve the minutes.
Anyone, what the changes
Can you
made?
just state your name before you?
Jim Latham.
Yeah, thanks.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Louis Lemare has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we have, what's that? 4-0. 4 in favor for the changes that were made to the minutes. I will sign this and give this to Laura so she can take that back to Georgia. Okay? Let's go. Let me see if I can find out here.
Did I put your friend? I might have forgot to attach it and I didn't bring my laptop. I'll send it out. to you.
What were you
The
saying?
financial report?
I got it.
You have it? Okay.
I took the one that was on the PPAC website, the agenda. It was July final.
Okay.
I could not find August final there,
Yeah,
but
I
I,
got it the day of the PPAC meeting, that's why.
okay, but I have July numbers in here if I can find.
Well, I did your August one and I forgot to attach it to your agenda, so.
Okay, everyone has a copy of the charts except I got to pull them up here because Chelsea, Steve, and Randy do not have a copy here. Share. Okay. It's here somewhere. I think it's this one. No, can someone help me here where I can't figure out?
How to share?
No, I think this is it. I got it. I got it. I think so. We'll see. Okay, can everyone see that chart? Chelsea, Randy, and
Yep.
Steve?
We can.
Okay. I'm going to now go through, let's see if I got my cursor here. This is I just wanted to share with everyone, the people here in the room, since we're out in the lounge area, I don't have an overhead projector, has a copy of this that they're looking at. This is our, basically our budget for next year, which is 804. And I'll tell you why I circled 798 later. But this is our budget, just so everyone has an idea of where the budget is. And you can see, Jim, the difference, Jim Latham, how downspout initiatives had decreased by 104,000 and the bank improvements is 95,000. Okay, so that's what that chart is. Any questions anyone has of that? This is the July actual, or I don't know what you call it, Laura, unaudited July ending data. This is where we are today. that you see the difference between the 832.50 and the other one on the other page. We moved some money from reserves into our current year to cover Ian expenses. So that's why those numbers don't match between the two charts. The other thing I will mention is we're right now at 65% of our budget spent. And if you look up there, 83% is a comparison, but I don't use that comparison because some of our contracts most of our things are contracts that we know are going to bill. So we should be lower than the 83% or we would be in problem, but I don't see an issue with where we are right now. What I want to try to do is get a handle about approximate what amount will probably go into reserves for the following year. And that's an approximation because it's 6 months before we know the exact number or something like that that goes from year to year.
I should have a pretty good feel by mid-November. So.
Okay. If there's no question, I will go on to the next one. This is year 8. I do need a vote on this. This is year 8 of our downspout initiatives, which is year 8 of 8. Which means this is our last year of the downspout initiatives. It's 4 contracts, which is 184,000. And I reduced my budget when Bob Gephardt brought around a teacup or with a tin can, asking for donations to reduce budgets. I took it out of the wrong line item, which means I'm short. Right now, we're going to have to move some money of less than $10,000, but we're going to have to move some money around to fund that 184. I think the budget, what was the budget? 175, I believe. I could be. Yeah, it's right there on the chart. What I need to do is our options are we go forward with year 8 and complete the project. Okay. And that's $184,600 with Copeland. Or the other option is we cancel the project in the last year. Those are the 2 options. Okay. I would like a recommendation from someone. Does someone have, Mike, do you have a recommendation on this issue?
I would think we would complete the contract.
I agree.
I concur.
You didn't even ask for a second. We had a second and a third. So the mesh thing initial recommendation was from Mike Causey and Lou seconded, and the vote was 4-0 for approval of proceeding with year 8. This is, I think, was on last PPAC meeting. I seen it on the agenda, but we had not got the report and not had this meeting to approve it.
Correct.
It could have been done in reverse, but at least now they didn't have a quorum, so they didn't vote on this.
So I'm about ready to load the new budget into the system for next year. I actually am finalizing and having it double checked. So far, everything balances. But if you're gonna need me to move something around to cover that, this is the perfect time because I haven't put the
Yeah.
budget in the system yet. It's actually all sitting in a spreadsheet waiting. to be
Okay,
uploaded.
and on the chart that you don't have a copy of, give her this. It says to take $99,600 from storm.
I'll just take 10.
Okay,
Round
yeah,
numbers.
yeah. I tried to be too exact and I got burnt because I was too exact on this because I was a little short.
They
So,
usually come in a little under anyway, at least historically they have, so, but I'll just transfer 10. So you need to move 10 from your.
Storm drain.
Storm drains.
To there, okay.
okay,
Now, the downspout, that includes the new community that was added this year?
no.
That's just.
Well, yeah, no. The new community being
With the ones that put the gutters in and they asked.
Ravenna?
Ravenna, yes.
Ravenna, I have not done anything with Ravenna yet. Okay, I view the fact that Ravenna initially said they weren't going to do, and
Okay,
we voted to include them in the thing after we've completed the project.
okay,
I view the fact I'd rather get started with the erosion. And
Right.
I will do Ravenna, but
Yeah.
but I don't have the budget in there for this year,
got it.
this coming year to do Ravenna. Okay? see what we want to do. I was going to do these in different order, but I guess I can, the next thing on here, I think was the boardwalk parking. This is an area here that Jim had recommended from, he did the, he had that to do from the last meeting to come back with a solution. He recommended this area. Chelsea did a great job because she actually went through all these charts before the meeting and told me a couple of days ago that we didn't own that CDD. That wasn't a CDD asset, and that was a golf course. So I got a chart, and we need to make sure we clarify ownership of that area and get approval if it is a golf course, to get approval to put the project on there.
Now, is there a technical reason for that? I
No.
can't see there being a technical reason. It's just the way
It's just the way, I mean, if, in fact, let me show you.
WCI just laid it out that way.
Yeah.
Boardwalk going through the preserve, right?
Correct.
Yes, we're trying to get parking closer to the boardwalk so that people that are handicapped has a place to park closer to getting in with maybe their wheelchair or some type of device, handicap type of device into the boardwalk so that they don't have to go. There isn't parking close to there. And by the way, Lou, put that thing right there up.
This one here?
Go on.
I would question whether or not, I mean, that's far enough away, I'd question whether anybody's gonna use it anyway.
Yeah.
They're still gonna
Yeah.
park on the mowed grass right outside the
Yeah.
entrance.
That,
so-
well, this is the chart here. Chelsea can see, this is a chart she sent me for who the golf course property was, and I'm going to get with Jen to work through that. But the next chart is the one, chart 7. I don't know what it is in yours. You see right there on the ground, lift that up there. That is the material that would be used right there that we're looking at. You wet the grass, you put that on top of the grass and you just roll it over the grass. And it embeds into the grass so that the grass still grows through it. But if someone drives on it, it will not, and it's wet, it will not cause ruts in the area. Okay, so do you see the chart to the right? Does anyone have this on? Yeah, that shows the thing with grass on it where and it's almost instantaneous because the grass comes through the thing as you put it down. The only other thing those little circles, you can put reflectors on there. You could put reflectors on there
I guess to identify
paths for them.
the parking spots.
But
I
if
think
you,
the good idea with this is it's
you don't know,
not going to be visible
right?
until you're right over it. So it's not going to be yet more blacktop in the community. And I think visually it'll look better. And
You won't know it. Unless we put the
That's-
reflectors on it, you wouldn't even know it was
I said
there.
You're not going to, it'll prevent any rutting. So it'll be plus it's a pervious surface. You're not going to be having more runoff going into the pond. It's going to still be able to absorb into the ground, which is,
Doug,
much more
Yeah.
appealing.
I have a question. Where is this?
It's
Is it
right
before-
after
Yeah.
the bridge, right before
other
the,
bridge?
right, there's a
South of the
bush.
bridge.
And that's golf course property?
Yeah.
Well, in fact,
Golf course
I think
You've
in-
seen the way they shank
It
balls?
I believe it's just the way the community was done when it was done. The actual ponds itself are owned by the golf course. We have maintenance rights or something like that against that.
When the community
That's
was,
not even close. to
I know it's
a
not,
pond.
they own all the ponds.
Yeah, this is Bob. when the community was laid out, Mike, WCI in their wisdom, put ownership of, I believe, almost every pond.
Yeah.
To the golf course. Now, remember, there wasn't much built here.
Right.
We're going back to 99 and 2000. So as they have evolved, some ponds have transferred ownership to GSCDD, others have not. We have responsibility for everything from the macadam circular drive around conservation areas inward, but we don't have out. So this area of proposal is still under technically, even though the golf course never goes there, it never goes there.
Yeah, and I don't think we'll have an issue, but like
No.
Chelsea brought up that we should formally request the fact that we could do it since we don't own the property.
Because they don't cut the grass there.
I-
They don't do any maintenance on it.
I don't know who
I
pays
think
to
the
cut the
golf course
grass.
does cut it, but only because they do everything for town center.
Right. They do
Oh,
the-
The
Doug-
golf course doesn't have
Right,
another,
right, but it's kind of.
it's under town center.
I think the
Yeah.
town center pays the golf course to
To do
do
it.
some grass type of maintenance type thing of cutting the grass.
Cutting the hedges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I
Now-
chime in?
Yes? Yeah.
Can you guys
you're
hear
the one who
me?
Brought this up. Yeah, I want your opinion.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear. Good enough.
Okay. So we'll have to, like Mr. Gippert has been going around with the landscape ones, we're gonna have to formalize this with some type of easement or agreement with the golf course. It's doable, but I think a conversation with them would be warranted first, and then we can formalize it with an agreement, a written agreement that will
Right.
cover both entities.
I'm not asking for a vote here because of that reason, Chelsea. There's work to be done. It's more like a discussion topic since it was, Jim Latham was supposed to have come back with a recommendation, but we're not going to recommend this until we have more work done.
Perfect. And then I know you guys have a lot on your agenda, but Stephen Agapi is on the line. If you could prioritize him giving that pond
Okay.
update, that would be great. No,
The only
we pay
other
by the
thing-
minute.
Okay, I think that we'll make that next on the agenda. The only other thing, Chelsea, when I looked at where we're putting this parking thing here, I think I'm going to have to put I could just see someone going forward into the pond of putting the golf cart in revert and forward versus reverse and going into the pond, because it's not that far from the pond. I'm looking at putting some,
Safety barrier.
whatever those thing,
Curb
curbing type
stops.
thing. I got a picture here that Chelsea and them can see. I added that later. It's just that I laid awake at night and worried about someone in the pond and then them coming back at us because of the fact we put parking there and someone ended up in the pond. And it's not unlikely I think it's very likely it could occur.
Yes. Okay, just Bob, the last thing, and I'll shut up on this. The opportunity to have parking inside the boardwalk area is not completely dead. It is on a back burner and will be taken up in the future. The entrance to this proposed area would be on the Sienna side. We would move the bollard at the Sienna entrance and then allow handicap parking into the master decking area, which is about 100 feet in. So that is long-term, but it is still open and on the horizon
Would that be golf cart?
for golf carts or other mobility devices.
And that would be parking within the bigger area.
Within that boardwalk area in the center
Only.
only.
Oh.
And then we'd have bollards to prevent those vehicles from going any further in.
And that's engineered to support that weight.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's something you said we're going to defer until you have other issues done, Chelsea, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
We're working, it's just not a dead issue. that they
no,
won't do
but
this.
it could be a long
It
issue.
could be 2 years, yeah.
Whereas I think, I could be wrong, but I would think for less than $2,000, we could do what we're talking about here with that material.
Oh, I think they both ought to be done. This will
And
be
you
an
wouldn't
entrance on-
even notice it because it would still look like grass. They would still cut it like grass. The only thing is, once I put that protection so they don't drive with the stopper, so they don't drive into the pond, then it probably will cause more of an issue to cut the grass. Right? Because you got to cut, yes.
Marty Manson, Monticello. So once you put that material down, it becomes sort of invisible.
Right.
So you're gonna identify a golf cart parking area with signs to identify it.
My intention would be, we would include in this thing the protection so they don't go into the pond and a sign that said boardwalk golf cart parking.
Okay.
For handicapped people.
Okay, and for long term, the parking area on the boardwalk itself, that large area, you have to change the environmental impact statement because you are putting golf carts.
We don't know what that's gonna require, but yes,
There'll have to be a study
there'll
done.
have to be a study.
Thank you.
But when it was built, if I remember properly, because I was on PPEC at that time, it was built to be able to handle golf cart weight with the materials and the structure when they built that boardwalk. But we weren't permitted from Florida,
South
Southwest.
Florida would have minded it.
We weren't permitted to be able to allow golf carts in there. It was designed to support it, but not permitted to be able to do that. Okay, the next chart,
Stephen, again.
is Steve, no, I got that up there, is Tetra Tech erosion report review. Stephen, you can chime up at any time. This is the summary report. Let me see if I can make this bigger because for me, I can't read it. Let's see here. Well, for the people in the room have a hard copy in front of them. This is the report with the number one pond that Stephen projected, pond 36. I will say that the number there, the number of feet, is the total number of feet of the pond around
Doug,
yes.
Can I make a suggestion that Stephen just kind of give a brief overview
Okay.
for the group?
Okay,
Yeah.
go through it, Stephen.
Good morning, everyone. Stephen Agapi, Tetra Tech District Engineer. I've also got Mason and Lisa in my office. I had them step in. Also, they helped with a lot of the field review. So just a background, Jim Latham, he prepared a very good comprehensive report of all of the ponds in Pelican Preserve. On April 7th, he either delivered or that was the date of his inspections, but that report was very well done, and that was kind of our starting point. From there, we were asked to go out to the ponds that he identified to be in the worst condition, which were 17 ponds, and kind of give our point of view as far as prioritizing them. So on July 19th and 20th, we went out and inspected those 17 ponds. We met Jim on the first day, and we walked, I think 3 or 4 ponds with Jim. And, he kind of gave us some more background information on, all the work y'all are doing out there as far as the downspout project. And then we proceeded with our inspections and, took measurements along the lake banks to help develop this prioritization list. So yeah, you're right. We did identify, a lot of erosion. It's all varying pond to pond. Some ponds have, really bad erosion in some spots just for a small area, and then the rest of it's in decent shape. So we did our best to try to show how we would prioritize the projects that, however you guys proceed. At this current time, this is how they're prioritized. And, just keep in mind as the years go on, erosion's going to continue, and some of the ones that are near the bottom may slide up. Just that's the nature of them. So I will also say that South Florida historically has been, giving people grief when drop-offs are in excess of 9 inches. But Tony had found a recent example from 2023 where they gave someone a non-compliance letter for a drop-off of 8 inches. So I believe it's kind of subjective, but it's in the ballpark between 8 and 9 inches is when they start paying attention and giving non-compliance letters to owner operators for stormwater management systems.
So we could just add that to the specs when we start to look at bids, that, a slope or drop off greater than 8 inches needs to be, you know what I mean? And you have a list, but sometimes it goes 6 to 10. So part of it was going to be in compliance and part of it would not be in compliance, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, there was areas where there was like 4 inches to like no drop off, and then the next lot over it'll have 8 to 12 inches of drop off. So it's not consistent. And you guys might want to keep in mind when you're planning for your restoration efforts that if you're going to go into a lake and you're going to cause damage to the turf as the contractors entering and exiting, it may be worthwhile to address the entire pond at one time instead of, just doing, 2 lots and then leaving, when you could have done more while you were there. So just something to keep in
Stephen,
mind.
is that number, that's the linear feet number, that's the distance of the entire pond, correct?
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the total length of the pond. Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought it was. But I didn't know for sure. I didn't know for sure. Because, is there anything else you would want to cover here?
So we have helped Pelican Preserve permit some of these ponds for restoration. So in our experience, the city of Fort Myers does require permitting. So I'm not really sure what the plan is for the restoration. There's a lot of different ways you can restore these ponds. For every person, there's a different opinion on how it should be done. I know Gateway proper does it a little differently. They probably have a different perspective on how to handle it than maybe Pelican Preserve does. I know you guys are more in favor of littorals than Gateway is. So, yeah.
So what I've been told so far, and I spent half a day yesterday. First of all, I stood in line at Lee County to figure out that they didn't do it. It was the city of Fort Myers versus Lee County. So I had to go back and stand in line and permit there.
Yeah.
But where I'm at right now, and I've asked for it in writing, is that if we did taking the, for lack of a better word, the silt off the bottom of the pond, or dirt, where it's dirt, we did not change the composition of the bank from a material standpoint. What I've been told so far was the permit was not needed. But I got to get it in writing, but I'm just saying that's where I'm at. Whereas if I put in any type of, let's say like, I'll use a membrane, like a membrane type thing, or even if you just put rock, that you change the composition of the bank, which required a permit. That's what I've been told, but I want it in writing before we proceed. I mean, we're in the starting phases of that. But I'm just saying that's what I was told when I went to Fort Myers the other day. I got the person's name, but I still have not got that in writing. But
Well, that seems like good news. I mean, I think
I think if we do have to do a permit, Steve, it will be a site permit, which is like a one-page thing.
Right.
It's not an extensive permit if we do have to do one. Whereas if we did the membrane, I mean, you have to have it's pretty extensive. The permit process is not trivial.
So you mentioned using, I think you're getting at dredging the pond maybe, or using an excavator to pull some of that material back up to the lake bank. So I think, that's definitely a possibility. If you just move the silt that's kind of settled down at the bottom of the pond, there's going to be organics in there. It's not going to be very cohesive soil. Just putting that on the lake bank is probably going to last for a little bit, but it's not going to be a long-term solution. But if it's cost effective, maybe you can plan to do that every 5 or 10 years, but I would not expect it to be a long-term permanent solution.
Well, we've done that. We've done this on some of our ponds before. On the pond, I don't know the number right now, but we did it where we used the coconut mesh and then and the littorals, and the coconut mesh lasts for a couple years, but the littoral growth then takes over, and the protection of the bank is not the coconut mesh at that time, it's the littoral growth. So, like I said, we're in the I don't even know what you want to call it, planning stage, discussion stage of this thing. But I will tell you, the report was very, very helpful that you supplied, you and the group supplied. Very helpful.
This is
Great, glad to hear that.
In looking at your prioritization, table 1.1, and comparing it to Jim Latham's, there's an awful lot of alignment. We did, pretty well going down pond by pond. Pond 36 was not a priority on the initial Latham list, but it doesn't have littorals. So there's 5 ponds that don't have littorals. So the group needs to address that as quickly as we can to put littorals, regardless of whatever else we do.
Right, that'd be a different project with the
Yep, yep.
littoral, but,
So that would be pond 36, pond 47, 58, 51, and 28.
right,
But the number one priority the top five on both lists, the gym list
Yep.
and the Tetra Tech list, three, we've got alignment on three of those.
Right.
So those should be the ones that I would think the group might want to consider starting on.
Yeah. Let me
go
go. Do you have anything else you want to add? And Tyler, Stephen, I should say, see that Freudian slip. You can bring up at any time, interrupt and have a comment. But the next chart I want to go through is the report. This is one of the ponds, pond 36, which shows the drop off, and it's got length of lines. I did the best I could with this chart. I used Adobe Pro with the measurement tool to measure the length of each of these segments to measure the length, and then I was able to measure the length in inches and then convert that to feet because we had the total number of feet for the pond. So you could take the total number of inches at the pond, the total feet at the pond, and come up and be able to calculate how many feet each of those segments on that graph that we got from Stephen was, which is on the next chart. You can start to see it's starting to put the feet into this. If you go to the following chart, this is pond 36, and this goes back to, you see the table here? Everyone can see that? This is the number, this is if you took, keep going, one more. Yeah, okay. What that chart is there is taking Stephen's pond 36 chart and looking at the 8 to 12, and you go around the pond, 8 to 12 inch drop off, 0 to 4, 6 to 10. You go down the list, and then there's the number of inches each of those areas were on the graph, and then then that's converted to feet. So we know how. So that 8 to 12 is an example. That's 0.43 inches on the graph, and I know it's not exact. The tool is 99% accurate, but I'm sure, Stephen, when you drew those things, they weren't exact to that level, but it gives us a good estimate of how many feet are in each of those categories. Okay. And then the 105, and then the 100% is 100% repair. So you see there, I had put 100% repair, even though it was 8 to 12, but then it goes back to, that would go back to the contractor that we select, or the ones we do the bid on. They would be able to say, is that 105 totally accurate? But this is just to give us an estimate. The last few projects we've had done, small bank erosion estimates, is $40 a foot. So I took the number of feet times $40 to come up with the estimate.
$90,000.
$90,000 would be the estimate for that pond. And you can see in there where I put 50%, where it says 6 to 10, I just put 50% of that number, not knowing how much of it was, 8 and greater. I just put a number for approximate standpoint. This is just to give us an idea of what this pond would cost with the strategy that we might be on.
Yeah, and I think we could charge the golf course with fixing their 448 feet.
Well, I'm not going, necessarily.
That's down the road.
I think I have an assumption page here. One of the assumptions is, in the past, we've not done the golf course. In the past, we've not done the road. We've not done the conservation area from an erosion standpoint. We've concentrated on just the stuff behind homes. I believe going in this project here, we should do the golf course and we should do the roads. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion for that is, for the golf course, we wouldn't put in supplemental or texture. We just go in and grade it.
Yeah, but it ain't going to be
the 8 inches.
But it ain't going to be much difference. We'll figure out what it is. But I'm just saying, I don't want someone golfing on the golf course and fall into our pond and get eaten by an alligator because of the fact that we had a 9-inch
Well, I'm
drop
saying- No,
off.
I'm not asking for I'm saying repair the 9-inch, but do it by grading.
I don't think it'll be much different. We'll see. We'll see. But I believe we need to address the golf course. We need to address the road because a lot of the road is where the fishing people fish is on the road level,
Yes.
but not to address the conservation area.
Mike Crosby, where is pond 36?
Solero,
Okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah, that's in the rear.
that's all, that's
Between
Solero.
the golf course and, between the golf course and,
Well, it runs the
Solero.
whole community there. There's golf course on,
right.
if you get down Solero Road, pond 36
Is
is
on the left.
well, depending on, yeah,
As you're going,
Actually, 36 is between Solero and Matarita.
and Matarita.
So you
Right.
see it from
It's on the
Cypress
road,
Road.
because the other side is still
on.
golf course side up also.
Yeah.
This,
Yes.
this chart I'm showing you right now is another table. Go down.
So
You want
now,
another
one
table?
question on that. Now, it could be that when they come out and look at it, there may be a 6 to 12-inch area with a
Mhm.
4 to 8 in between the next bad one. So
Right.
they may, at that point, say it doesn't make sense to do,
Right,
100 feet, then skip
right.
40
I
feet
agree.
and do
I-
that.
I-
So
I-
that could be,
These numbers are just
Just
approximation.
directional.
yeah,
So we know can we do,
right,
once we get into beyond year one, how much can we get done?
right,
When you
yes.
walk with the guy that's gonna do it,
He's
you
gonna
determine
say,
there what you're gonna do.
we're gonna chew it up, like Steve said,
Yes.
our equipment's gonna chew up the ground, it's not that wide, we have to do this full section.
Yeah. So this next chart, the table, if you look at Latham ranking and Tetra Tech ranking, which is the second column and third, fourth, fifth column, that sort of takes the two, what page is it on the printout there? Do you see?
It's not numbered.
Okay.
Okay.
It shows that like Pond 36 was the top of Tetra Tech and in Latham's rankings, he put quite a few together in his report, in Jim's report. It was in the group that needed to be addressed. You know what I'm saying? The two groups, grouping you had, Jim?
Yeah.
So the one would represent the group number two,
Oh, your ranking is not it's just a one or a two.
because that's
Highest
all
or
he
lowest?
did.
Okay. Because I took Jim's literally.
Yeah.
The number one you put
Yeah.
was, at that time, like, 28.
Right, yeah, no, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't priority.
That's why we went to Tetra
Because I
Tech.
did the same thing.
That's why we went to Tetra Tech to ask for some prioritization because we really didn't have it. But if you go down the list, it's very much in
Yeah,
alignment
that's the same
between
thing I saw.
very much in alignment between the two. This is just a rough guesstimate. The 174 repair entire pond is if we did the entire 43, pond 36, if you do the entire pond 4369, it will cost 174,760 if you did the entire pond
Gotcha.
and didn't skip anything.
Right.
And then all the way to the estimated, the 990,000 is only doing 2,260 of that pond, which is the ones that were 8 and greater.
Right.
Okay, so that's, and the delta, that shows you the delta.
What do we have right now allocated money-wise
About 105, 104,000
right now?
right now.
But next year, we'll have a considerable chunk of it.
I think it could be close to 250.
As we finish the downspout,
Mhm.
we're gonna gain 250 or the total will be 250?
The total will be 250. Because,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's already got 100. I'm talking about the incremental. We will go
Oh,
from
so-
100 to 250.
Now I'm with you. Okay, now that okay.
Okay,
great.
we pick up what's in
So-
the budget today for downspout. We'll move
So-
over here, not following year, to do them together.
So if we accept the Tetra Tech prioritization
Right,
as a group and say, okay, we're gonna do pond 36 first, 43, and then 54 in however we have money to do it.
Yep.
And then they can go out for bids at Gateway to get some people to bid on this. And the ponds group can work with them. So we're not just, helter
Right.
skelter, putting out the $200 a foot remediation effort. That's a pretty good path forward.
Well, I'd like saying this is in the planning stage, but if you add up what I believe, if we did it, only the parts that are bad. And it could be more than this because it could be a small section and you want to fix it too, even though it wasn't greater than 8. That total number of estimated cost, oh, what did I do? No, it's touchscreen. Is around $650,000 for those
Okay.
17 ponds.
Now repairing the entire pond for 174,000. What is in your head the cost per foot for that?
40. It's the
Okay.
same.
40. But if we did it under quote unquote the gateway standard, it's 200 a foot. That's what I want to make sure the group understands.
Oh, this would be a bond issue, large amount of money if you wanted to do it with the membrane and.
So we're not required to do the $200 a foot unless it makes sense.
Right.
And
And we have done the $200
Yes, we
a
have.
foot where we had a drop off of 12
like a
inches
Vila- well,
behind the house.
4 feet. In the
Yeah,
Vila.
yeah.
We had huge drop offs.
But for where we are right now, I'm envisioning we're going to be closer to the estimate here of 90,000 versus 174, but
We don't know.
we don't know.
So we get
We
the
haven't got any bids.
So what do we need as a motion, Laura, to go forward with PPAC's approval? If this group says we are going to take prioritizations off of Tetra Tech and we're going to target the first 3, then PPAC approves that same methodology, then the next step would be to get bids.
My take is we're not targeting the next 3. I'm viewing, I'm going to only, I believe if my math is close, it's 4 to 5 year project. Okay, we'll get 1 pond done this coming year, one
Just
pond.
only one, okay.
Okay, and then after that, it would be, we would have
Bigger chunk
about
of money.
250,000, $200 to $250,000 a year, and you'll be able to, do more ponds than that.
So
And
you,
that'll give you the 1 pond to give you a better idea of costs and.
Right.
yeah,
and the
see
whole
how close
process.
these numbers are when we
Yeah.
get to bid.
Yeah, and 2 things back, I got some assumptions here. You can read them. I haven't got approval, final on no permit. We will work through that. Repair to match Southwest Water Management specs of 9%. I might change that after what Stephen, or was that Chelsea that said 8% with Tony?
Inches, right?
Yeah, that's where I got inches. Do I have feet?
Yeah, you have inches.
But I said feet. Okay, 9-foot drop would be pretty good. Silt from ponds used to restore banks. The intention there would be we would do some analysis of the silt to make sure there was no chemicals in it. That type thing. We do testing of the water and stuff like that from chemicals. But we will make sure if we did that coconut mesh, littorals will go from seeds and silt. We'll give it a year from the littorals. Repair roads and golf course when over 9 inches, and no repair on conservation.
Doug, can I chime in real quick?
Yep, you can.
So is the coconut mesh, is that currently out on your ponds?
Yes.
Okay, so perhaps we could allow Stephen to give his input on what he believes would be the process moving forward.
Okay.
Stephen, you want to chime in?
For almost 10 years, Chelsea.
Yeah, we did both coconut mesh and then we did the Armor Max on the ponds, but the coconut mesh were on these type of drop-offs are more what we did with coconut mesh than what we did with, we had big drop-offs in some of the ponds and we used Armor Max. We did 1, 2, 3. We did 3 with Armor Max and then that geo web. We even did 1 with geo web.
So you're just restoring the coconut mesh that's there.
No, these ponds have nothing.
So you're adding coconut mesh.
Right.
We're adding coconut mesh to keep the dirt or silt, whichever way you want to call it, whichever one we use, in place while the littorals take hold to protect the bank.
Okay, so
We have
Stephen,
examples of coconut mesh that have got 5 years of life with it.
Yep.
And we're happy with those, with that installation.
so Stephen, you want to chime in just on like what testing would be required for the silt in the ponds and then kind of what the process may be?
The testing of the silt, that's kind of outside my realm. I did reach out to our environmental staff when Gateway had their the samples done in their pond silt. And I do remember getting a response back, and I sent it to Ed and you. And I think there were some requirements depending on like where it is applied to the land based on the levels of, whatever is found in the soil. So if it's, copper or arsenic, whatever may be found, I think there were some limitations on where it could be applied. And I think the workaround on that was to like blend it and dilute it before application if, high levels are found of whatever constituent is present. And then I think steps moving forward, you probably need to get a good scope of work put together and some figures so contractors know what they're bidding on. I would think at a minimum, probably an overview figure showing where the work would be done and maybe a cross-section detail, and then, a scope of work and measurement and payment so they can, everyone can bid on it unless, you take the strategy of just seeking out quotes from contractors and you're just verbally telling them what you want done. I know there are procurement requirements. So
Stephen, where I'm at right now, and I can be changed, in my opinion, we will get 3 bids, whether or not we go through the formal posting it in the thing for a $90,000 one. That's what we can be. We will get 3 bids.
okay.
And you got to be able to have a way, like you say, to be able to tell the difference between the 3 bids, so it's consistent.
Right.
So it sounds like as if what I'm hearing from the committee, from the ponds committee, is that if you agree with the prioritization list and you recommend that for PPAC's approval, we can hopefully the ponds committee can select a representative to work directly with staff and Tetra Tech on compiling specifications and the schedule of values that we can either solicit quotes, or we can look to see if we can piggyback maybe some other county contracts that might be out there. And then whatever will happen, there will have to be a construction contract that whoever the bidder is, or the winning bidder, they will have to execute. So we've got some homework that we've got to do, but as long as the committee, approves this prioritization list, we can get the ball rolling.
Just Chelsea, you mentioned the word construction. I know that word came from Tony. When I went up to Fort Myers, they called this repair as opposed to construction. They used a different word.
Regardless, we'll have a contract that the contractor will have to sign. I know historically the district has signed whatever the vendor has provided, but we do have this is construction. This is work being done. This is repair and maintenance. So we have contracts that these vendors will have to sign.
Well, I know they will. By the way, Chelsea, your comment, I didn't show this chart to you guys, but this is all the ponds. We use the Jim Latham report, Tetra Tech general report. Our pond maintenance contractor, they do monthly reports, the group knowledge, and our budget. We used all that stuff, and this come up at 36 for 2024 was the pond record that I view we should go forward with. We'll do a vote here and recommendation, but what would you want our vote here to say? The proceed forward with selecting pond 36 and go to the next step. Is that what we want, Chelsea?
I would suggest you approve the prioritization list, because if we can find a contractor that we can potentially get more than just 36, you don't want to have that limitation that we've got to come back through the process.
The only thing with that is I worry about, and Stephen mentioned it, the priorities, let's just say we're 2 years into this, that prioritization list could change because of erosion and stuff like that, and the ponds could be different.
Absolutely. And you guys can amend it's a working document. You guys can move that. But as of today, if that is the prioritization list that you guys agree, you can recommend approval and moving forward on doing the necessary repairs and maintenance for whatever ponds can fit within your budget for next fiscal year.
Okay.
You can break it out into phases as well.
Yeah.
So you can hit one pond a year and just break it.
Yeah,
out.
I think by year 2, we should be able to do maybe 3 or 4 ponds, because if I look at the numbers that I've looked at so far, it's not going to be just 1 pond. So I'm okay with going with, the list that Tetra Tech, Jim, you want to?
Comment, if we went with 36 and if the estimate was going to be higher than the money that we have, the second pond could theoretically still be higher than the money. So I just want to make sure that we're also going to be including, say, the third or fourth one, which even if it was the entire pond, it would still fall within our budgeted amount.
Right.
Because if we focus on 36 and it comes out to 150, but we only have 104, well, now we don't want to lose time
Right.
and now go back and say, okay, well, what pond can we do that we can afford to do? That
I agree
still
with
follows
Jim.
that still follows the,
Right.
Well, you do have your reserve account.
I was gonna say that,
If
and
you
at
don't
that
have your
point-
budget, you can pull the money from the reserve account, and the cost, and that way you can still keep the one.
Yeah,
that you
if you look at
Okay.
that chart, the worst case is going to be the 174,
right.
right? Which is to
So-
do the whole pond.
Hey, Doug, can I chime in here? So, our prioritization list, you're kind of splitting hairs when you're talking about the worst 5 lakes. So we
Yeah.
nudged 36 up to the top because it had pretty substantial washouts, and that was kind of the deciding factor to put it up there. But I mean, whether you pick that one or one of the top 5 to go first, whatever is advantageous for your budget and schedule, and if you guys want to try a smaller pond for a certain technique, then I think that's definitely reasonable. I don't think you have to go lake by lake or pond by
Right.
pond.
Okay, Jim, why don't we go, Jim, if you want to make that recommendation that we select we use Tetra Tech's top 5 and proceed with the
Next
project,
steps.
with the next steps with the top 5.
I concur, and
What's your recommendation?
I would recommend using this.
Your motion.
Using this, the motion is to accept and proceed with using the top 5 prioritized list from Tetra Tech to proceed to getting the next step in getting out the bids or getting quotes so we know which ponds to
Okay.
proceed with.
Got a section?
I'll second.
Mike, Jim Lathan was primary and second was Mike Causey. Vote, anyone
I approve.
for the 0. Okay, I think we got a good start right now, where we're at. It's just the next project, and it's not going to be a 1-year project. It's good. We maybe go a little slower at times over here and don't necessarily go get a bond to do the entire thing and fund the entire thing at once. But you look at it that even if we did the whole pond, 174,000 for pond 36, if we did it with Armor Max, you're looking at
Yeah.
at least 4 or 5 times that for that pond to do
So,
the restoration.
I'd like to be clear that I tend to oversimplify things, but I just want to be clear that this is a lot more than just digging out the silt of the pond and restoring the bank, because you have irrigation lines that could be in that LME. You could have plantings, fences, any of that kind of stuff. So, I mean, we're going to have to do some due diligence, and keep in mind, dry season, although it's been somewhat dry this year, dry season is what, 2 months away, 3 months away.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, if we're shooting to get something done this year, we've got to get the ball rolling pretty darn quick.
Right. Well, it has to be done in dry season. That's the thing is it needs to be completed before wet season.
Agreed.
You're right, Chelsea.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you, Stephen.
Let's see where we're
You
at.
are welcome. Am I good to go? What are our next steps? Do you all need anything from us going forward at this time?
Stephen,
No, I
yeah,
think-
we'll need specs, like some spec sheets that we'll be able to solicit in a schedule of values.
Okay, so do you want us to
Well-
prepare a TA to prepare some documents for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you basing
So-
these spec sheets on coconut mesh?
I mean, that's what it sounds like y'all want to use, which,
Yep.
I'm fine with. I mean, I'm just going to say this, like, I don't think it's a forever solution. I think what Gateway does is going to, there's obviously going to be maintenance no matter what you do. It's, a living lake bank. So whether you're topping off rock where they are in Gateway now, or, if you guys are going to have to come back out and 5-10 years and bring some more fill in if littorals die back and it erodes again, I'm just saying, I don't think this is a forever solution. So I'm okay with it as a repair and maintenance operation, but I just wanted to state that.
And Stephen, with the ponds we did with the Armor Max, we still have maintenance on them.
Of course,
That rock gets green with and needs power washed or something. I mean, it starts to look pretty bad on the banks. I mean, it's not eroding, but the rock and the rock disappears too. It washes back into the pond. So there is maintenance, not as much as could be on the coconut mesh, but there is still maintenance on that side too.
So
Right.
one last thing. So Steven needs a task authorization in order to work on some of these items. So that means that there's going to be money spent. Steven, not to put you on the spot, but do you have a ballpark number that the subcommittee could approve here? That way you can get moving on it?
No, not off the top of my head. We kind of need to come up with like a draft scope of work and then come to an agreement on what our deliverable is going to be before we can, provide some
Would
numbers.
it not to exceed 10,000 get you started?
I mean, that'd be a start, but that's not going to get us through it.
That's
How about this? How about I come up with what I believe is the scope of work and distribute it to Chelsea, and she can send it to y'all for comments and feedback, and then we can revise it. And then once we have the finalized scope of work, we can prepare a task authorization.
The only problem with that is it's going to delay it another month.
Exactly. So I think if you guys get approved Tetra Tech, like Bob said, up to maybe 10,000, and we can come back and ratify the TA at your next ponds committee, but that can get him moving.
How about 19? The last one we did was 19, maybe 20. Chelsea or Laura likes round numbers, not to exceed 20K to start with, and then we come back with a revision if we need that.
And we can ratify the TA at your next meeting.
So like what portions of the lakes are we going to do? Am I making plans and specs for just one pond? Which pond? Am I doing it for all of the sides? Am I doing it just for certain areas that you guys identify you want restored?
I think we do it for pond 36, unless there's some economies of scale. But pond 36, because I think, like Laura said, we could dip into the reserves if it ends up being a little more expensive. And we will go forward with 36 if we use reserves. So why don't we make a recommendation that not a task authorization not to exceed 20K?
Well, I think what Steve is getting at, he needs to know how much of a pond are we looking to get bids for, where I think we're looking to have an idea from a contractor what they're do we just pick the steep drop-offs and skip the shallow parts?
Well,
that's what
some of the stuff, if you look at the detail, is zero drop-off.
Right.
And if you look at around the entire pond, I don't want to do a zero drop-off or a 0 to 4 drop-off. If we get into cutting, 7 inches, maybe we do 7 inches, but I don't want to, increase the scope far beyond what Florida Southwest Management wants.
Right, but I think what Steve is getting at is he needs to know exactly the scope to put in so everybody bids on the same scope.
Right.
Not that each one comes in and says, well, I recommend doing this other stretch because I'm driving my equipment through it, when you felt that there was not enough drop to include in the scope. Am I correct in that, Steve?
Well, The way you
Yes.
determine that is the
Wait,
walkabout.
They've
Walk with the
got,
contractors.
yeah, but you
But
have to have
before
the specs.
Before the
You have to
specs
have
are
the
out,
specs before the walk.
you have to have the specs out first, because
Well, the
otherwise
spec
they're.
is- Make the spec 6 inches or 8 inches, whatever.
Can we let Stephen respond to, I think it's Jim who's been talking?
Yes.
Hey Doug, can you pull up our document and go to page 15 of 40, please?
I don't have.
Or
it.
I think you actually have you already have it on. Go to page 11 there of your slides.
15 and 40.
He's told me where
Yeah.
to go. Which
Yeah, you
one do
got
you want?
Slide 11. Go down one more. Yeah, click that guy. So,
Yeah. That's
you know, this
36.
is,
Okay.
let's just
36.
assume we're going to do like the red, and you have some orange on the left-hand side, which is, you know, 6 to 10 or 8 to 10 drop off there. Yeah, I mean, what Jim was getting at is right. You know, we need to know, like, hey, do you guys want us to just focus on what we have in red and orange, or just red? No, that's kind of what I need to know.
When my estimate that I did, the red, I did 100%. Orange, you mentioned 8 to 10. I did 100% of that to be restored.
Okay.
And then the orange 6 to 10, I did 50%. Those are just my rough guesstimate when I did the estimate.
Stephen, can we just include all of it and get pricing, and then we can determine from that point based on the pricing for the scope, but they can bid on everything.
Yeah, I mean, we can do like a linear foot cost and then put in there like, hey, you know, construction is going to be done based on direction by staff, may not be to the full amount bid on, but it will be a minimum of this amount. So they know they're not going to get hosed if they only do like, you know, let's say they bid the whole thing and we only tell them to do like 100 feet, which isn't going to happen, but we need to give them some assurance that their unit cost is going to, you know, they're going to make some money. So I think we could probably do that approach. And I think for like what we're looking at, it'd be a low level of detail on our part. It'd probably be like an overview like this and showing the areas we want restored and providing like a cross-sectional detail and some specs. Have you guys used a contractor to remove sediment from the ponds and place it on the lake bank?
Yeah, that they have done multiple projects where they've taken sediment.
From in Pelican Preserve?
Yeah, Copeland has, in our downspout initiative, they dig, when they buried the drain into the pond, they dig a trench with sediment, and then that sediment goes back on top of the pipe into the pond once the pipe is in there. And they've also done coconut mesh on a couple ponds where they use the dredge. They've never been bringing dirt in. On any of the projects. In fact, at the time they first did the first coconut mesh, staff, it wasn't you guys, but staff advised against bringing in dirt because and some of that dirt ends up at the bottom of the pond, and you increase, or the life of the pond from a dredging standpoint is reduced by bringing in dirt. At least that's what when we did that before, that was quite a while ago, Stephen, and you weren't there. It was Tyler, and it was total different. It wasn't Chelsea, but that was the thought back then.
And we had woven fabric that we put the silt into.
All right, so the construction method is going to be the contractor is going to have to most likely dredge. Like they're probably not going to want to put a long reach excavator because they're going to tear up everyone's yard. So they're going to dredge the material to the lake bank, and we're going to place coconut mesh on top of that.
Yep.
And they're not going to plant littorals? There's not going to be any new littorals planted?
There will not, what we've been told, recommendation, Stephen, we were told that when you bring the silt up versus doing just dirt from the pond, you're bringing up a lot of seeds of plants that will grow during the wet season. And we've seen that in some of the ponds that had no littorals now, that the banks are just sprouting up. So, you know, your thought on that, but that's what some of the people have told us.
We could probably do that as a separate.
That's fine. I'm just trying to, you know, make sure I'm clear on what the plan is.
Just so you
here.
know, Stephen, the plan was not to do littoral planning, to see what the the plants grow from the seed and then make a decision to do planting from there.
I would suggest, based on what we've done on the Gateway side, is do not include littorals if you so choose to do littorals. You have Superior or Cross Creek or you have a vendor that,
Right.
and work directly with them. That's what we've
Right.
done on the Gateway side.
I agree with that. In fact, we've had good luck with Superior with planting of littorals. So I agree with that. So let's get a recommendation to give Steve, to give him $20K to start with, to get started with the task authorization.
Authorization not to exceed.
Not to exceed, right?
Okay, I'll
You-
bring that to the floor.
Okay, a second? Okay, vote?
All in favor, aye?
Aye, 4-0 to give Stephen 40K to start, or, I just doubled that. 20K to start a task authorization.
Do we have an estimate how long this may take? Hey, Steve, any estimate on how long this would take?
We'd probably have 60% in a month.
That's good.
Good. Again, everybody understands we're really trying to get something, the first one started this dry season, which I know we have a tight time frame. So that's just why we're anxious to
Right.
see this.
It's more getting it completed before the dry season ends.
Well, unless we have another summer like this where we won't have a wet season.
Yeah, yeah.
Until now.
Well, yeah, the last week.
Okay, any other questions here? Chelsea, do you have what you need?
Yes, I do. We'll coordinate with Stephen, get the TA, get it reviewed, get it to you, Doug, for your review, get it executed, bring it back for ratification at your next meeting. Stephen will start working on the schedule of values, the specs. We've got the front end docs that we can start preparing that has the contract in it, so we can get the ball rolling on our side. And then we'll just be able to plug and chug when Stephen gets us the items from their side.
So Chelsea, when I prepare the TA, you can sign off on that based on their approval just now?
Yep, and yes, I can. And then
Okay.
we'll just take it back to them at their next meeting to ratify it.
Okay, 10-4. So we don't have to wait. We just need to get the TA signed by you and we can start working.
Yeah, and-
Understood.
And Doug, I would suggest you go to the next PPAC meeting and let them know.
Okay,
Philosophically, Pelican wants littorals in every pond. We've tried to do that.
Okay.
And we have seen the benefit of that over and over and over. The fact that we have some ponds right now that don't have them, we will address separately.
yeah, there's nothing we've said so far that said we were not going to do littorals.
Right.
Okay, we're going to jump to the bottom of the agenda. Ed Hedges has some comments about the electricity that he wants to talk through with some of the stuff. I think the floor is yours.
I've been working off and on the electricity, but we've also been working with the safety and security to do this inventory of all the street signs and street lights and stuff. And we've got a handy dandy little application that lets us actually out in the field with the maps identify certain things. And I think it may, we can get into it later, but I think it may have some real use on the ponds too, to save a lot of work sometimes when you go to do the inventory of things. But it's going around trying to sort out some of the lighting, where it's metered from, what meters serve what lights, has been a real challenge because a lot of the metering seems to be kind of commingled with a lot of these different things. And I found a few places where the irrigation monument lighting may be switched with the pond, or the pond aeration lighting. And so we're trying to sort all that out to understand exactly which meter serves what, and that from some of the lists, because every list I get seems to show something different, and nobody has any maps of it. But it is clear that the pond group, the meters are serving the fountains on 17, 18, and 22, which is the
Downside. Oh, 22 is golf course.
the golf
Yeah.
course irrigation
Right.
pond too, but all those big fountains. And each of the
Just to-
fountains,
Just to clarify, you're talking about the fountains in the pond.
Yes.
not the
Correct.
ones that are-
Right.
these are
Yeah.
the fountains in the pond,
Pond decorative fountains.
like ponds, decorative fountains. And three of the four run about $1,000 a month for the electricity. And so those are being, I think, being billed to.
They're in our, they're 36,000 of is about the number
Yeah,
is being billed to us in the ponds group for electricity.
but we're still, and I'm getting together with Andy tomorrow there's a few of these aeration meter sites that we're got to go visit to figure out exactly which meter is serving the irrigation, and get some of that sorted out. The locations that are serving the fountains, I guess, should the ponds group be paying for those fountains? Should the master association be paying for the electricity? Somebody's got to figure that
TBD.
out. But I will say that each of those meters tends to be serving something else other than just the fountain. Something else is being fed off of that meter. So you might be able to shut the fountain off if you want to save that, but that meter and that monthly service charge will probably still be there because
Minimum
it's
will
serving
always stay.
something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
So it's just still trying to investigate it and figure it out. But and there's a couple that are, one of them, it was recorded as a pump on the FPL, but it appears to be Christmas decorative lighting and Bob subdivision cul-de-sac. So it should probably be the responsibility of the HOA.
The HOA, absolutely.
And that. So, and I'm finding 2 or 3 of those others that I'm still trying to sort it out, but
Ed, is that per pond, per fountain, $1,000?
per fountain.
Only for
per
the
fountain.
big fountains.
Yeah, I
big
understand.
ones.
Yeah.
It's $36,000 a year.
Okay.
And that's only
Electricity.
electric. That's not repair.
That's
Yeah.
just the electric.
And the repair is being paid for by the PPCA right now.
And I don't know whether or not they're running 24/7 or if the time clocks aren't working and they should be shut off at night. So there might be ways to minimize that, but.
Well, I kind of think the first step we've reached, we now understand it. The decision should be made or could be made is, do we want to continue paying for that? Or do we want to approach PPCA and say, since this is really a town center feature, we're going to mothball it and sell it as, declared obsolete. But if you want to continue it, we can transfer it. It could go anywhere. I don't have any idea.
Yeah, I know the PPCA has already, Nancy Straw has already called me and said, what is this about you guys trying to transfer $36,000?
Yeah.
Everybody, and in
wants-
fact, I
everybody
got a
wants to
meeting with, I got a meeting with her to go through the chart. Well,
Everybody likes it.
but we are not going to turn, first of all, don't start that rumor.
No, we're not.
We're not going to turn the fountains off, okay?
Till everybody's.
Well,
adjudicated.
it's sort of like we aren't going to do the guard check. Then you got everyone, you don't let that rumor even start.
But the other side of this is, you got to be cognizant of this, is if we got fountains for the Vincenza neighborhood, I'm in Carina, I want it too. And we had been asked in the past to put those big fountains in.
Yeah.
So whatever the big picture is, we've got to
gotta be-
consider the entire community and what the impact is.
Yeah, my vote is to get rid of them.
Now,
Seriously.
does that include the one on the golf course, the one on Cypress Road?
Yes.
Yes.
Because that's not, I would say is golf course.
Well, I've always considered it golf course. I've recently found out it's ours.
Well,
Even though that's the golf course irrigation pond.
Okay, because then that could be construed as any other pond has as much right. This I could understand the ones here because it's in the entryway into the town center.
Absolutely.
That's why
that's why they're there.
it's an amenity from the town center. But, that starts becoming the,
I
would
wanted
say,
my pond to.
they're the only ones that really have a
Marty,
benefit from having it there.
Marty?
Marty Manton, Monticello. How much do these fountains impact the mosquito mitigation?
They provide next to no aeration benefit. The aerators we've installed is
But
much
it
better.
causes a ripple on the surface of the water. where the mosquitoes can't breathe, right?
That's not their purpose.
No.
But we're not gonna turn them off,
Yeah,
Marty.
that's not their purpose,
The-
buddy. I hear you.
We're not gonna turn them off, so we're not gonna turn those fountains off. We're just debating on who's gonna pay for it. No one's going to say, turn those fountains off.
Until everybody's lined up to say, yeah, they're too
Yeah.
expensive. We don't want them.
Hey, thank you.
So
I'm gonna,
I'll know more.
this
probably
is
in
a
month or
can
so.
of worms he's looking at, folks.
and he's the
You got-
best person to dig into a can of
Absolutely.
worms.
And I will say that a lot of the electrical services and boxes are in really bad shape. So it's
We've got lift stations, we've got irrigation electric, we've got aeration electric, street light. I mean, it's a mess. And WCI made no attempt to make it simple.
Let me get one more thing, because some people, I also, bad violation of this meeting. It was rescheduled 4 times. The meeting's already an hour and a half, and I like my meetings to be an hour. So one more thing, though, we have to do is to approve the extension of the current Superior Water Management or cancel it. Okay? There's a chart in there. I think it's chart. It's right after the chart. Thank you, Ed. It's
What do they
right.
service? What do we call, what contract is it?
It's the aeration and no, he's not a member. No, my quorum's, I'm watching my quorum.
Yeah, right, we're not leaving.
We're not leaving one more vote and then the rest is discussion. It's the Superior, which is
Yeah,
the old Pelican pond maintenance, and it's the aeration.
Okay, aeration maintenance?
Yes,
Okay.
this is just that Superior. That chart shows that today, let's just say 140,000 for aeration. The proposed new aeration would be at 119. Okay, the vendor cost of time goes up, but the material costs go down. Okay. Well, flip-flop because we got a lot of equipment now. When we reduced our number of compressors, we reduced our aeration, we got equipment that is material to fix things. Okay, I will, and the other thing is the littoral maintenance did not change. It's still $72,000 a year. So I would just tell you where I'm at with this. I asked, because they were not board members, I could ask them. Jay and Peggy have aeration, and I asked them their thoughts on Superior with aeration. Would they recommend the extension of the contract for aeration, because they're 2 separate things, and they agreed. That, in fact, they were very positive about Superior with aeration. I did not ask you, Jim, because you're a board member and that would violate the sunshine law, but your
Hurt my
opinion.
feelings.
I hurt your feelings, I know. You can give me,
Okay.
you can give your
You're
opinion.
already over an hour.
Yes.
Give us your opinion.
They've been very responsive to any of the issues that I go to them with. So this has been a challenging summer with the heat and the pond water temperature and trying to keep the stuff sprayed back. But, they answer my questions and they've been very responsive. I've been pleased with the service we get.
Are they better or worse than community environmental in responding to your issues?
That was a been in aeration.
Jeff Keys.
That's aeration. They
That's
did
what we're talking about, isn't it?
no, both. It's a combined aeration and littorals.
Okay, from an aeration point of
No,
view.
he's got
For
littoral.
littorals, from the prior contractor, they were more responsive than, I forget who we had before that.
Aquagenics.
Aquagenics.
Okay.
And, we open up tickets for bubblers and it's, they've been out clearing them.
And to your question, Jay and Peggy would say that they're much more responsive than,
Okay.
okay?
Now, these people don't have any of the non-littoral ponds.
They do not have any of the new littoral
No.
stuff.
This is all old.
So whoever that
Old Pelican
contractor is.
Okay.
for the ponds and the whole
Okay.
Valley Wick for the aeration.
Okay.
So,
Motion?
I raise a motion to extend the contract for Superior Water Management.
That's a $21,000 savings a year.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
I second.
Will the price go up, or?
No, no, this is, Randy did a good job.
Yeah.
Randy negotiated this.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, community environmental is one guy, and we had some issues.
Correct.
Getting service if he was sick.
Or his
or
mother
he
got
couldn't get
sick, or-
parts, Where now we have a larger company. It gives us at least a pool of people that we can pull from if there's issues. and
It's
they
a bigger
have supply
company.
chain.
Now, we gave him an inventory. He had a bunch of parts. Did we ever get them
Yeah,
back?
we got the parts and we got even a bigger, because when we downsize our compressors, we got extra, we have,
Standardized it.
that's why material costs are less.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, from a staff perspective, too, I mean, that it's easier to support a larger company,
Yeah.
not waiting on one
Okay.
person.
Yeah.
a recommendation
All
and second, a vote.
Aye. Yep.
4-0. All right. The things that needed, Laura, the things that needed voted on are done. I just want to show one more thing. And we've got back the inspection from the stormwater inspection of our storm water drains. When you drive down the roads, the drains on for lack of gutters,
Catch basin.
well, yes, the drains are there. This is a chart here that looks like the last chart in your deck. The 112 catch basins, 20% of our catch basins are 80 to 100% full of debris. Okay,
When was the last time they did this?
but you go over here, and what is that number? 65% have zero debris in them, which is very good. And if you look, we the last ones we did are the C and D. And if you look there, they are much cleaner because those were the last ones we did. So I've asked them that we don't need to have the vote because I don't have a proposal on this. But the thought is that we would do the 80 and 90, 80 to 100% on all 4 areas, as opposed to doing one entire area. So we keep here. Give me that thing here. I wanted to show you guys. So, do you guys know what that percent means? Like 100%? This is a catch basin here. It's the ones in the street are smaller. But what this is 100% means debris is from the bottom of this thing to the bottom of the box. That's 100% full with debris. If it gets above 100%, guess what happens with the debris? It goes into the pipe. And then you have to clean the pipe, which is much more expensive than just sucking out the debris out of here.
Okay, so this isn't the storm drains
Yeah.
from the street.
It is.
into the-
It is. This
So
example I got
It's
is
a
not.
small
Okay.
example.
Okay, so
That's
that's.
just so people
okay,
know
to
what it
clarify,
can.
This is a bubbler.
There
from
is
the
much
downspout.
bigger, yes.
Right.
But
This is the ones
the
on the
drains
street.
are much bigger than are in the
Okay.
street, but it's the same
Yeah,
thing.
'cause they got
That you have
concrete.
from with the pipe to the bottom,
Right.
where the debris comes in, it just falls to the bottom and then it doesn't go into the pipe. Because if it goes into the pipe, then you have to clean the pipe, which is not cheap.
The street catch basins can be 5 feet deep.
Yeah.
can be
Yeah.
3 feet deep.
Yeah.
The typical pipes are 24 inches, 30
Yeah.
inches.
We have, so you know, I have a 3-inch document. We have one catch basin in the street drain that is above 100%. One.
It's probably full of sand like you were
Yes.
mentioning.
Well, maybe somebody put in a pool,
Some
could
probably
get
put
in.
in a pool.
Yeah.
Now, when they put in a pool, there's no, I guess, verification that they didn't
Yes.
fill up a bubbler
Well-
or fill up the storm drain,
No, but
because
if
they
they-
should be
If
responsible.
they followed the protocol,
Right,
the
They
supplier
cover
building,
Yeah.
we would never get this.
right.
However, we're constantly finding pool companies don't follow the protocol. We can report them, and L. Harris does a great job of that, and they can be fined. And when we recognize it, we make that supplier clean our catch basin. But, you know, you gotta catch them.
Yeah,
We just had one the other day where the permit to build a pool, they revoked the permit because they didn't have the right protection to the storm drain.
Is that the one we got?
Just the other
They
day. And
told us
Elle
about
was the one that found it. She gave a copy.
That was very good about
But
that.
what-
I work with them when you saw that.
What happens is when that occurs, they pull the permit.
Okay, so all work stops until they
Right.
mitigate.
Right.
All right.
This is a good news story. This whole catch basin cleaning, because one time we spent a ton of money cleaning all the pipes. And then we realized if we just kept the catch basin clean, never allowed it to get into the pipe, it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Do we inspect the pipes? Still?
That,
We
that,
don't have to if we keep the catch basins clean.
if the, if the catch basin's above 120, that one's 120%, we will look at the pond.
Okay.
Yeah, there are occasions, Mike, where we
Right,
would do that.
but we only have one.
But we used to put
How
cameras
about the
to it.
interpond?
We don't do
Right,
that.
We,
right.
we also,
Right.
I don't have the summary of that, but
Okay,
we've got the inner pond pipes totally inspected now.
okay.
And about 20% of them need some form of cleaning.
Because it's always, you always wonder why you go by, some
It's
ponds
the
look
height.
like they're full, another
Yeah.
pond across the street looks
Right.
like it's still down a foot.
Yeah.
When eventually they should be balancing out.
Yeah.
But
Did I want to make sure I heard you correctly. Are we still going to do zone A, zone B, zone 3?
No,
Okay, you don't want to do that anymore. Now you're.
well,
gonna do-
we will come back with a proposal and then we'll vote on the proposal. Okay, my take is right now, we address the 80 and 100 across all 4 zones.
So somebody inspected all the zones to give us this?
This data here is an inspection by Felipe of all 4 zones. The inspection was
We've
on
never done that
every,
before, okay.
the inspection that, the data you see here was on all 4 zones that was just completed.
Okay.
All right, let's vote to adjourn the meeting.
I vote to
Motion?
adjourn- a motion.
Second. 4-0 to adjourn the meeting. I apologize, it took so.
Well, you should. You
that-
talked
that-
about it.
Well, yeah, someone started out with 10 things.
He retired. You
10
see how he
things.
changed since he retired?
Oh.
And here, look,
Someone figured it out.
there's
my
my
10
10 things.
10 things.
I didn't. Well, that's all I had.
Oh, you had more.
No, I didn't.
Did you sign your minutes?
I got it, that's what I'm
Or
going
you
to
want
do
me to
right
bring
now.
them back? Are there
I got
any
one for
changes
you,
on the
one for
signature
landscape.
page?
If you got pen, I got to get my.
Yeah, I got a pen.
Here. Here, one,
We
too.
didn't discuss this at all. eh?
So we
We're going to do that.
open these,
Oh, don't fill that. You just sign it. We'll fill in the other stuff.
personally, but.
What are you trying to pull, Lou?
I've already talked to him about that.
If you want it, go do it.
He, don't give.
He's always trying to.
No,
give you
wait,
a
don't
check.
give a, you were just talking about he's been in this group for 15 years.
That's true. That's true. And he
He
used to
need-
bring chocolate.
Oh, that's one that was free.
He used to bring chocolate.
Here's this.
All right.
Thank you.